I see the tally
Everybody,
light.
we are now on.
I see the tally light, yeah.
All right, so
Used to have a video.
I'd like to open up the Georgetown Planning Board, March 25th, 2015 Planning Board hearing. We'll begin with approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Sure.
I would like to make a motion.
Please do.
And that motion is to approve the March 11th, 2015 minutes.
Second?
There's been a motion to approve the March, you said March 11th?
Yes, I wasn't here.
March 11th, 2015 meeting minutes for the second. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The other meeting minutes, can I get a motion for that one?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meeting minutes of the meeting of February 25th, 2015.
Any second?
Second.
So a motion's been made and it's been seconded to approve the February 25th, 2015 meeting minutes as submitted. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Sorry. Let the record please show, Mr. Chairman, that I abstained from that vote since I was not present at that meeting.
Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Absolutely.
You're
So
always,
it's not unanimous.
you're always, you're always welcome with your comments. Okay,
Where
correspondence.
till I do my recusals? You're gonna love it.
Anything in the correspondence, Howard, you wanna?
The only one is the last one, where the Board of Selectmen in the town of Newbury are issuing or looking to do a special permit for solar photovoltaic installation. So I'm just going to be paying attention to what happens in Newbury because the planning board has on the warrant the solar energy facility. And if that passes, I will expect some type of application to be coming to Georgetown within a year. So see how their process goes.
Pretty cool.
Very.
Okay, on to vouchers. BSC Group, Little Hill, BSC Group training.
To clarify, BSC Group issued invoice for professional services rendered on a site walk and a report to the planning board regarding Little's Hill. If you recall, I mentioned to the board at the end of last year that the developer for Little's Hill has requested release of all the funds in his tripartite agreement. So I have been going around trying to get in contact with all the town departments to issue letters or to sign off on anything still outstanding or if the developer has fully met all his criteria and requirements.
Question, Mr. Chairman? The one for Little Hill,
Yeah,
is that the $1,792 one?
yes.
Coming out of 26460? And account 26460?
Where are you
I'm
reading,
sorry.
where are you reading the
On
account?
the,
26460, correct. Yes,
on our department, is that's the,
Yeah.
that's the Little Hill one?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the voucher for the BSC Group totaling $1,792 from M26460.
Second?
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to approve the voucher for $1,792.00 from the BSC Group for Little Hill as submitted. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? Aye. There's one more.
Yeah, another BSC, right?
Yes.
No. How could you just walk us through that?
BSC Group performed some site walks and has issued some observation reports regarding their work over at Turning Leaf, mostly having to do with site clearing, grading, installation of the subbase for the road, as well as the beginning of the stormwater management systems. So this is a partial invoice that we're able to pay. We couldn't pay a full invoice because there wasn't enough money in the M account. We've since received a check from the developer to replenish the funds in the M account. So we'll be processing another one shortly.
May I ask, Mr. Chairman, what do we keep in that account usually, 4,000?
Yeah. But with a larger subdivision like this, it's gonna be up and down on
Yeah.
a monthly basis.
Seem right?
Yeah.
Legit? All set?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, if I may.
In discussion?
Well, no one's even made a motion
He's
yet.
just gonna,
Okay.
we'll get to the discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the BSC Group invoice for $1,584 coming from M account 26502.
Second.
So there's been a motion and it's been seconded to approve the voucher from the BSC Group for the paternity leave in the amount of $1,584. Any discussion?
Yeah. I had sent you a request to do any, my question was that there was a lot of complaints about stripping and cutting of the project. And I just wanted to know if any of these vouchers, did the Dave Varga, inspect it to see? Is he on board as soon as they come in to do such a thing?
Howard?
Included in the packet under new business is all the documents that Dave Varga sent in supporting those invoices. So we have not received a new invoice for Dave Varga being out in the last few months because of the winter.
But they were complaining when it was not as bad as this, in the snow, the neighbors, weren't they coming into your office? Will
No, they were not.
I thought that's.
Most of this is coming from January.
Neighbors.
This is all January, if I'm reading it.
I haven't had any
Says
residents
reports
come in and
back in
complain to me
December.
about the turning
Is
development.
there some of it?
Did you have an
I-
opportunity by chance to hook up by phone with him?
No.
That's what I've had complaints. And a couple of them said they came into the planning office, so.
Well,
Anyway, they're complaining that it was just stripped.
okay.
They just, one day, gone. They looked out the window and they were very upset. And
Pretty
some of them
rough.
came down here, so that's,
How are you supposed to do it?
Well, I would like.
I don't know, but I just wondered, is the inspector
How
there
about-
when they do such a thing as that, or?
The site inspecting engineer will not be there every day.
I realize that, but isn't he supposed to be there for action like that?
I think what I'd like to do is, when the trees first come down for site clearing like that, it can be pretty abrupt and people can just be shocked.
I'm
And
sure.
I'm cautiously optimistic that they're staying well within the plans and specs that were approved. And, maybe we just make sure that Howard contacts Dave to just verify
Yeah,
that,
I will.
okay?
Well, interestingly
Do that.
enough, on the 19th of January, Dave's street notes, his book notes, one of them is the detention basin on lots 5 and 6, the silt fence needs repair. So, I mean, he has his eyes open
Oh, he's been there.
for
He's
erosion.
been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's watching the erosion. Silt fence needs
When
repair.
did we
So that-
approve that
that's-
subdivision though? Wasn't that in the
August.
fall? Yeah. So they've been working on it as soon as that was
Yeah.
approved.
Yep. So, I think what Harry's just pointing out is that I'm again cautiously optimistic they're following the plans and specs, and he's out there, and he's got his eyes,
The
and
19th.
Howard will get something from him to address that.
Yeah.
And to make sure that that's the case. Was there any other discussion?
Except I had a hard time reading it. Because his handwriting is a little
You'd be an
bad.
excellent doctor, wouldn't you?
I think he was too
But
bad.
basically, what these vouchers are, some kind of soil testing.
Lot
Compaction
of
They
lot
pack
of
and
tests.
Sieve
pack
test.
and then they,
Lot of
yeah.
tests.
Civ
That's
test.
very costly, isn't
A lot
it?
of tests. All it is.
Yeah. And this is, and this list, this graphs. Can you understand these graphs?
Almost.
Those are just the compaction test results and the reports that the computer spits out.
And he's satisfied with it, huh?
The punchline of it all, yes. He's very clear about that. In fact, I think if you look at the cover sheet, the transmittal of each of the submittals that the contractor looks like they submit, there'll be a sample submitted by, And then it says source of sample, material submitted as, and for example, processed gravel base course, Mass Highway Department M1031 spec. And, you know, he goes on, and Dave's BSC, no exceptions taken, acceptable. That's standard operating procedure for shop drawings and reviewing of submittals.
Mm.
So his invoice is well deserved to be paid.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
they
I'll
look,
call the question.
they look ready.
Alrighty. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay.
Is there a sheet to be signed?
That one, and then after we sign that, we can move on to the public hearings and.
Can I just
Oh, maybe not.
make a suggestion to quickly deviate from the agenda?
Love it.
Because it's not quite 7:15 and that's when the public hearing was noticed. If you could open the public hearing for 70 West Main Street. We have received a Form H, so all we need to do is have the planning board vote to sign and approve and close the public hearing. And then there's a member of the public in attendance that is a matter that we can quickly take care of, so he doesn't have to go through the whole public hearing, unless you want to, Alan.
No, I just think
Is
if it gets interesting, I'll just stay.
Okay,
It's always
Is the
fun.
Form H in?
it's right here. It's the original.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, motion to open 70 West Main Street, continuation from what? I don't know.
What was it, the February 25th?
Whatever the continuation date was.
Second.
Okay, motion and it's been seconded to open the public hearing. The continuation, 70 West Main Street. So we have in front here a Form H, request by applicant for extension of time. Pretty straightforward.
We'll call the vote. Open it.
When is the extension till, what date?
Harry made a motion to open the public hearing. You gotta vote on
Tilly
it.
seconded, I thought.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't
I'm
heard.
sorry, I thought it was.
No, it wasn't
Okay,
heard. It wasn't heard. You have a chance.
All right,
No, you don't want to hear it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
aye.
Opening the public hearing for 70.
So here's the Form H. Robert, you're the clerk, right? You guys wanna take a look at that before? Approval? See
I
one,
think
see
so.
number 4.
Okay.
Extension of time is granted to the end of the next quarter, which is the end of June.
It's just not signed.
Right.
Gotcha. Mr. Chairman, I will, if I may,
Please.
make a motion to accept the Form H.
Thanks.
Form H for the 70 West Main Street to extend the time to decide to June 30th of 2015, which
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve the continuation and the Form H, an extension to June 30th, 2015 for 70 West Main Street. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no public comment from 70 West Main Street from anyone in the attendance of the public, I would make a motion to continue the public hearing to,
April 22nd.
yeah, that's, you read my mind. Clyde, how do you do that? You could.
April 22nd, Howard.
Yes.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made, it's been seconded to continue the 70 West Main Street public hearing to the April 22nd, 2015 planning board hearing. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before going on to the next scheduled public hearing, I just want to bring to the attention of the board, included under your supplemental packet is a letter from the Board of Selectmen regarding a proposed zoning amendment to the planning board for public hearing as required by Mass Attorney General Office. And I included the letter, a calendar, copies of the town amendments that are being requested to be removed. In brief, the article is a submission by the selectmen to be placed on the warrant, but they would like and need the planning board to hold a public hearing on the matter. Article 33 is the intensity of use schedule to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by amending chapter 16511 intensity of use schedule specifically to remove footnotes 1, 8, and 9. In brief, footnote 1 is for multifamily units or apartments requiring 10,000 square feet per unit for the first 2 units. In brief, footnote 8 is for multifamily units at 20,000 square foot per unit for the first 2 units in CBA, continuous building area. And in brief, footnote number 9 is for multifamily units, 40,000 square foot per unit, as defined in 1657. So if you look on the calendars, you'll see that the Board of Selectmen met this last Monday, and tonight being the 25th Planning Board meeting. The Planning Board needs to decide on a meeting date because it needs to be advertised to be published on the 30th and April 6th. The public hearing needs to be held on April 14th, which is a Tuesday, in order for them to properly place it on the warrant, which is posted on April 16th. The planning board is required to hold a public hearing regarding any zoning bylaw change, and this is not a citizen's petition or anything else. Rather, this is a submission by the selectmen to be placed on the warrant. A proponent of this that had spoken to the selectmen on Monday is Alan Olson. He's here in attendance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to have the town planner make proper notice of a public hearing for the zoning amendment. Public hearing to be held on April 14th, 2015, 7:15 p.m.
So there's been a motion, and it's been seconded to authorize town planner to schedule a public hearing Tuesday, April 14th, 7:15 p.m.
To be held,
To be held
I
town.
believe we can hold it in the third floor.
Okay, town to be held in town hall, third floor, for Article 33 revisions as noted. Any discussion? Can you just remind me as to why these are coming out?
An interesting one.
Why they're coming up?
Yeah,
Alan has asked the selectmen to place on the warrant this zoning bylaw change. So that's the reason why I'm bringing it up. If there's specifics about why it's being petitioned to the selectmen to place it, then Alan can answer those questions.
Yes, the requirement for 10,000 square feet for a dwelling unit is, recently, how it's affected me is the Dunbar Tavern that we're working on. The zoning board is, in order to have multifamily in there, it needs a zoning board, and it also needs a planning board to review it. But with that line in there, 10,000 feet, you can't put more than one unit on a quarter of acre. It isn't just me. I mean, there's a house on North Street, same thing, been a two-family for years, and now they're trying to sell it, and they're trying to correct problems. I think since the 50s it's been two-family, and because they don't have 20,000 square feet, they can't go to the zoning board to let the zoning board make decisions that pertain to that because of the 10,000 feet. It's just restrictive, and it doesn't allow them to do their job.
Currently, if you're making an application for a multifamily requiring that you want to put in 4 units and it requires 40,000 square feet and you only have 20,000 square foot lot, relief of that would be done by the zoning board through a variance approval, and the zoning board isn't, in Georgetown isn't very active with issuing a variance.
I'd venture to say if you had if I took this house here, the big house, there's 8 bedrooms in it, and I said, I'm gonna move out of the farm, I'm moving downtown, my wife and I wanna do an in-law apartment for my father. Logical, pretty big house, everything else. I don't believe this, you can't put 2 dwelling units in there, because there's not enough land, according, by this restricts that. Or anybody else that chose to do that on any small lot. It particularly affects, I think, downtown, or these small lot type of areas. It's a town-wide problem.
Go ahead.
What's the, okay, remind me of what the normal process is for vetting this, and so I know we have 2 public hearings that would get scheduled now. Being so close to the,
Right. What is going to happen is, because this is something being proposed by the selectmen.
so this is being proposed by the
You will,
selectmen.
by the selectmen, it's being placed on the warrant by the selectmen, and by Mass General Law, the planning board needs to hold a public hearing regarding any amendments to the bylaw. And so the one date that can happen is April 14th, because if you will open and close the public hearing on the 14th, a report needs to be made to the selectmen on the 15th, and nothing can be received after the 15th because of the warrant being published on the 16th.
And then it's the planning board's role to make a recommendation to
To the selectmen.
to the selectmen in support of or not.
No,
No? What?
no, our obligation is to hold a hearing.
With no recommendation at all?
Now, the by law, Harry's correct, by law, the planning board must hold a public hearing
Well, I know that.
on the matter.
Well, I know that.
But it's not required, but it's always been done where the planning board can make the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, either written or orally,
Mhm.
that yes, include it on the warrant, or don't include it on the warrant, but the Board of Selectmen aren't bound to that recommendation of the planning board. All they are going to be doing, what, Harry?
I don't believe it's whether or not to include it on the warrant.
Our recommendations have always included the language to, we recommend that you include it on the warrant.
Yeah,
So-
well, doesn't mean we always did it right.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
So that's what I'm.
all you have to do is hold a public hearing, you
Yep.
listen to testimony, and then close the public hearing.
And then, as we have done with others that have come before the board, when we pass it along, we can provide a recommendation one way or the other. Whether or not the selectmen listen to that is their decision.
Right.
Okay, that's all I want to understand.
And my question is the process. The selectmen have established a routine where they hold us all to the wire of getting it in this date and getting it in that date, and or we're gonna close the warrant. Now, they didn't give us any explanation here. Why are they opening it, closing it? And I think you brought in a citizens, did you say citizens?
It's not a citizen's petition.
I did, that's what
Yeah, but he
initiated.
brought it in, right? Didn't
Yes.
you? He brought it into them, and then they decided to ignore that and do this. I don't understand the process. I never heard of it.
This is new on me. The process has always been, as we did this spring, to have to close by a certain date in order for the
Right.
warrant to be vetted through town council.
Yeah.
So,
Were they, so this is coming from the selectmen. Were they gonna attend this meeting tonight to talk about it?
no, because it's not an agenda item. It just came up, and they're not, they will be in attendance to talk about it. I will request the selectmen to be at the April 14th during the public hearing.
Well, I hope so. They're moving it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the
I
idea is that we're gonna
guess-
have an additional planning board meeting to hold this public hearing on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an unusual procedure that we're going through right now.
Mhm.
And that's all I just, so, with that said, let's just get, let's
So
just
I
move it
wish,
along and
like I
schedule
said,
the
I
next-
wish they had explained it here, so we could understand it better.
Yeah.
Because we have to go by the laws and,
But again, I don't think we're in the role of approving it or disapproving it.
no, we're not, but we're still having a
It's kind of a
special
waste
day.
of time.
I
No,
asked
you
the
should-
town administrator's
We
office,
certainly can.
I asked the town administrator's
Excuse
office
me, guys.
Right.
to go through the timeline that's required by the Attorney General's office. And they have informed me that if we meet the schedule that's written on that calendar, then we are meeting Mass General law.
Yeah, and, no, and that's,
So,
that's clear.
yeah.
And I'm not questioning any of that. I'm just questioning how it's
Process.
just come about, the process.
Absolutely.
So
But there's a
with
motion
that-
to vote
that's
on the
it.
date, right?
So, yeah, so there's a motion and it's been seconded to set that date, get the first public hearing going. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm gonna abstain. I don't understand it.
Fair enough, I understand. Okay, do we need to make one for the second public hearing now too?
You can open it and I will briefly read the public hearing.
Okay.
When you say second public
He's
hearing,
referring to 269 Central Street.
Oh.
Site plan approval?
Well, actually, I wasn't, but
Oh,
that's okay.
What are you,
No,
I'm sorry. What were you
Thanks,
talking
Terry.
about?
you clarified everything.
Slow down.
What were you referring to?
Let's go to the next public hearing on the agenda.
Okay. The public hearing on Noonan's.
269 Central Street. Like to open up. First public hearing for 269 Central Street, site plan approval, Union Forest and Greenhouse Inc., proposed development consisting of construction of a cafe, miniature golf facility, and associated site improvements. First hearing. Howard.
In accordance with the provisions of section 165A3 of the Code of the Town of Georgetown, the Georgetown Planning Board will hold a public hearing on March 25th, 2015 at 7:15 in Georgetown Memorial Town Hall, 1 Library Street, to consider Noonan Forest and Greenhouses Inc. for site plan approval regarding a proposed development consisting of the construction of a cafe, miniature golf facility, and associated site improvements at 269 Central Street, Georgetown, Mass. 01833. The property is located residential B zone district. Assessors map 9 lot 1, Registry of Deeds, book 13979, page 570. This public hearing notice was published in the Daily News March 6th and March 13th, as well as outside of Town Hall.
Is there anything you wanted to add?
The applicant is here in attendance to provide testimony to the planning board regarding the application. After you hear the testimony, then you can hear from the public. Certainly questions, cursory questions of the board, but I would say that you establish a 53J account so that there can be a peer review done, and any other questions from tonight that I can answer for the next public hearing on the matter.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, would you like to get that out of the way right now?
Wait,
The establishment of the M account?
no,
No?
let's go with these guys and then we'll bring it to the public and then we'll come to the board.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Frank DeLuna, North Carolina. Scott Cameron is the engineer for this. We'll be hearing mostly from him. And the owners, Stephen and Steve Flynn, are here to answer any questions as well. Noonan's has been around since 1939. And as I tell most of my clients, this isn't your father's farm anymore. And what's happening in Massachusetts more and more is farms have to bring in customers. And you've got to bring them onto the farm. And a tool for doing this is known as agritourism. So Noonan's is now sliding into a new generation, and they are going to employ, they have to employ to keep the competition up, agritourism. Many of your nurseries have added very similar facilities to their farms, and like I say, to keep up with the competition, Noonan has to do the same. About 2006, Noonan's added a small food establishment. All right, that food establishment is going to be moved and it will enlarge We do have a special permit for the miniature golf facility, and Scott will talk a little bit more about that. The facility is going to be operating under the agricultural exemption. So they will be growing a lot of the product that they sell in the restaurant itself, either on Noonan's own farm, or they've made arrangements with other farms that they would be leasing land from. So the most important thing Scott had to tell you, I'll step aside and he'll fill you in.
All important. For the record, Scott Cameron with the Morgan Cameron Group, 447
Can I get you to
Boston
sign
Street,
it?
Topsfield, Mass. We were the civil engineer on the project, and we're the site plan review. I was hoping to walk you through the site plans and some of the other information we provided to you. Plus, I brought some other information to clarify what we submitted to the hearing tonight. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
so
Just in case it doesn't go more.
this is a brief lay of the land here, what you're looking at on the cover sheet of the site plan set. You have Central Street along the bottom of the sheet. You have a residential property here, also owned by the Flynn's, residential property here, also owned by the Flynn's, and the rails to trails right away along the rear property line. The property is bifurcated by the Residence B, Residence C zoning boundary. It also has a floodplain overlay district that creeps up into the wetland area only. That's the blue line here, and you'll see that better in the next plans. And graphic plotting, the watershed overlay also creeps onto the property. The total parcel area is 9.05 acres. First plan after the cover sheet is an existing conditions plan surveyed by DGT Survey North Shore at a Newburyport. This plan identifies the existing conditions of the property. The survey was done in 2013. The only change I will note, if you've gone down the property, is the Flynn's removed the greenhouses here last summer, just kind of in preparation for things moving forward. But to walk you through the site, the tan shaded color, it represents all the existing structures. These are either the garden center, office space associated with the nursery, greenhouses, other associated uses on the property, garages, storage, etc. The gray and the lighter gray represent either gravel or paved areas. Your main access off Central Street, you come into the property. There's parking spaces striping everywhere in the property. They've been needing as much as they can get. You come into the site, you have customer parking here, loading areas up in here for customers to back up and load up plants. And they also store inventory for their products in this area here. There's also inventory storage open to the patrons of the facility up through this area. And the balance of the property is used primarily for, garden uses. So you have storage of plants, growing areas. And as you can see, almost the entire property, with the exception of the portion that is wet, which is this darker green here, represents the wetland that was flagged by Wetlands Preservation Inc. The entirety of the property is currently used. So there's a little bit of shrub here, mostly in the right-of-way that isn't maintained, and that's it. I will also mention to
Can I
you.
ask a question, just to get oriented?
Yeah.
Where was Hemworks, just to orient me? There was a building there?
That's it, yeah.
Great. Great.
So
And where was the septic for that?
the septic, I believe, is right up between the greenhouses. Oh, it's under here, and there's another one, here.
That's for the big building.
That's for the big building, yeah. So those are the existing systems.
Thanks.
Yeah. Lost my train, oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. No, right back, used to it. Of note, I'll get into the utilities later on in the discussion, but there is a municipal storm drain that traverses the property. It's not an easement, it's something that the town was in need of putting in at some point about, 20 years ago or so. And this was put in to alleviate flooding issues in Central Street and some of the neighbors' properties down there. Something they opened up their property to put in, and it does pick up some of the site drainage as well, but this is primarily picking up about 10 acres of watershed from off-site areas. And the discharge is right at the wetland here. There's also another drainage main that is for the site runoff only, which comes out and discharges here. I'll go through that later on.
There's no retainers to the, just discharges?
It just discharges out. When we started working on this project, we went through, we actually camera investigated everything, we figured out where it was all connected. They were very proactive in making sure it was cleaned out, so we figured out what was going on. We restored some of the outlets here. They just seemed to be maintained and cleaned up. So we did that for the town outfall and for the outfall from the property. So
When
we've
was
been
that
kind
done? When was that done? Because I,
When Jim
Hudson-
Let's just stay to the, when things were done like that, let's just keep moving here.
So your next sheet is your site layout and materials plan. This is going to give you the overall site layout of what the proposal is before you that you're reviewing. So I kept with the existing conditions. You'll see the light tan and kind of the forest green as areas that we're not really touching on the property. The bright green areas represent new landscaping beds that are going to be worked into the project. So as you enter into the property, there's a new defined curb cut here, designed with 2 lanes of exit, 1 lane enter. We're going to be clearing and cleaning up the site distance here to make that intersection safer for cars traveling on Central Street, interfacing with cars pulling out. This curb cut was also designed in accordance with the Mass DOT standards. The large landscaped area here, which is an entirely new reconfigured parking area, which will add an additional 31 parking spaces to the facility to account for the additional requirement for the cafe mini golf area here, plus some more for the existing gardening center uses. This is going to be made up of a modular retaining wall to step the grade down from a higher level to a lower level. And as we go through this, keep in mind the mini golf, the retaining wall, the display areas for the garden center, these are all products that they're going to be showcasing that you can buy and sell. So everything you see throughout the property that will be built is things that you can mainly buy from them. So for example, the retaining wall that will go in here is going to be product that they're going to sell at the nursery. So these are kind of showcase pieces for people to see, but they're going to be utilized for the site. So as you come in, you park. The miniature golf area is an 18-hole miniature golf with an extra bonus 19th hole to kind of put your ball. That's where you deposit your ball when you're done playing. Your area here for buying your mini golf tickets, there will be a small cafe associated with that. So the former cafe will move up to this area. Part of the design of this was to integrate a water feature throughout. This is lined, it's just a fountain area. But we also integrated a functioning rain garden. So this is part of our getting into our stormwater management. I want to call out here, I'll get into a little more on the next sheet. And the other areas we'll call on the next sheet are stormwater measures that we put into the design. So the site layout will also make sure we have the proper accessible parking spaces. There'll be 5 handicap parking spaces put onto the project. These will all meet the current ADA standards, so handicap access will be fully mitigated on the property, brought up to current code. And through the special permit process, they also integrated site landscaping here by putting in some trees along the frontage here to help break up this view corridor. And I'll help you see what that's going to look like in the next couple of plans here.
Those trees are on the layout plan?
I put them on here. They're not on your layout plan now. This was on the zoning board plan, so this is part of a prior decision from the zoning board. Next plan, this is your utility plan, so I'm calling this out just to help clarify hopefully what's going on here. This is that municipal outfall that's coming through the property. What we're doing to mitigate that is we're going to replace a section of pipe that is in pretty rough shape as part of this project. That'll help improve the flow through the site. And through the grading of the site, we're also going to take a lot of the load from the site runoff off of that. So where most of the property runs into this now, we're going to be limiting it to 2 small areas here plus the roof. So we're going to take some of the burden off that from the site. It's really a kind of a de minimis impact because most of the runoff's coming from off-site areas. The existing outfall, which picks up the majority of the runoff in the parking area from this project, we're going to retrofit with a treatment unit. So we provide our renovation of the stormwater runoff in accordance with the Stormwater Management Handbook, Mass DEP. We will provide a new water service, electric, gas, utilities to the new cafe, coming off of existing services for the property, so no street openings are anticipated for the utilities. The septic system will be put in this area for the cafe use. We did soil testing here, we have good well-draining soils. And as I was mentioning before, there'll be a rain garden that'll be functioning to collect roof runoff from the cafe. This will provide our groundwater recharge requirement. And we're also gonna implement 2 other detention areas. This is more for mitigation, but they will provide some treatment as well. This one here, intended to pick up surface runoff that comes around the back and runs down this way. So we're, what I'm saying is we're picking up almost the entire property and providing some sort of treatment and mitigation. And this one here to help mitigate the runoff from the mini golf course area. Something we also know about the mini golf construction, this is all set on a bed of free draining stone. So any of the runoff from that area, it's concrete with fabric over it, and you get the water features, all impervious. That's all over stone, so everything that runs off that goes into the stone bed underneath. And effectively, you have a giant infiltration area being constructed as part of the mini golf. It's just how they build it, so it's kind of a benefit to that construction. We didn't take any credit for that in design.
Good. I just have a quick question on that, because if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I lost you a bit on the, where you were picking up the water coming from the existing. You say you were taking it off the existing street, off Central?
We're taking it off, well, some of the property drains to catch basins here, and so we've worked the grading to take some of that load off. It's not a lot, and again, the
Right.
functioning of this pipe is not being controlled by this property here. We're just trying to do what we can to improve it. 'Cause
So
we're
is
not
that getting any
proposing
kind
it.
of treatment at all?
No, it's because it's almost entirely municipal, runoff. So we would be treating a huge area of off-site watershed that, is really the town's responsibility.
And it goes right to the,
Can
is
I
that
s-
more? What's the name of it?
I really want to give him an opportunity to do his presentation. We have some basic questions, yes, but please make note of your questions and then we'll come in with all the questions after.
So this would have been a smaller sized graphic in your the drainage report, if you saw it, but this is the rendering of the structure that will be used for the golf course activities. You can see in the back here, the grade of Central Street is up around this elevation here. It's kind of screened with the shrubs, but Central Street is at about the elevation of the eave here. So as you're driving up, you're really not seeing much other than the roof of the structure. So as far as impacts from, off-site looking in, or this spilling out, it's really mitigated by all the existing vegetation up in this area. That is further showing the site plan here, so this is what we're talking about. So there's about a 9-foot grade difference between the street here and the eave of the building here. You'll see it coming up in this area, but where it's actually constructed, you won't really be able to see it. And this is where there's a residential driveway here, so this is fully mitigated. Lighting on this, by the way, existing parking area, existing lighting, let's say there's 3 pole lights now, 20 feet high, there's 4 building mounted lights, that'll stay in place and worked around, or they'll work that around the grades, but that lighting will stay the same. And then there will be lighting put in for the mini golf course area here, series of pole lights and ground mounted uplighting for the features, and then the cafe will be illuminated for public access around the building from soffit lights which shine straight down on the walking areas. So there won't be any other building mounted lights or floodlights or anything like that. This is another blow up of the mini golf area. So you start here, you go through the course in this area direction, you come back out and you finish, and there's a ball deposit area here as the last stop. But you can see the water feature here. There's an existing fountain now. This is going to be highlighted as part of the design, and then the rain garden is going to be built right in this area. So again, this will be a functioning rain garden. People, they want to know what they are. It's going to be right here. They can go and see plans and see one working in action. And I brought, this is showing the plantings that will be in the rain garden. And the plantings I mentioned along the frontage that the zoning board included. This is a flowering tree here. There will be,
That the zoning board included?
as part of that special permit process, they wanted to screen.
Did they tell you what they wanted for a screen?
Yes.
I didn't see that in the
They,
conditions.
they didn't tell us what they wanted, but they wanted to kind of soften all that that new parking area. They wanted to kind of soften it from the neighbors.
I don't see that in the decision.
Uh,
There's 4 items in the decision.
Right.
All aspects of the screening, visual screening and the parking, that's all under the planning board's jurisdiction with site
Okay,
plan.
I guess that's what I'm.
However, they
getting
did
to.
point out that at the time of the site plan submission, the ZBA wishes to receive a copy of the proposed plans to submit comments.
Yeah.
Have those been submitted?
We're submitting them, they're going in either tomorrow or Monday, they're going in very soon.
The
What about Concom?
same application that the planning board received was distributed to all the other town departments in February. February 12th, I believe. I have not received any comments back from the zoning board.
So I guess, I just want to make clear that what you're presenting looks great, sounds great, but that's not what the ZBA has approved and that comes through here.
Oh, yes, yeah, that was for the use, that was for the golf course use, you guys are reviewing the site plan, but that was part of that when they were vetting the project before that board, that's what they put in. So I just wanted you to see what was put in. So this is the tree and these are the shrubs, so these will be kind of staggered along that frontage to screen the parking area. And these are the plantings, irises, ferns, grasses, ornamental grasses. There are some trees in this rain garden as well along the perimeter, but this will be the planting scheme that you'll see from the rain garden. This will be highly visible, functioning right there, so. I think that covers everything I had to present to you for the site. This one, that's it, yep. So,
Before we,
Essentially, this golf course that we're talking about is really a showroom. Right, the specimens there are for sale. Oftentimes, people want to know what plants are compatible. They can see the type of plants. It's a little bit unique, all right, but it is still a sales portion of the farm.
is there anyone from the public that had any questions at this point?
Arthur Mazzara, 18 Nelson Street. The parking lot, behind the parking lot, that's the current building that's there now, and you're gonna be going on the other side of the power lines, or no?
no.
Everything will be pretty much staying on the same footprint you have now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the golf course is gonna be over where those greenhouses were that are torn down?
That golf course, where it is now, that's where we had the nursery before we sold nursery stock out of there.
Right, yes,
So that's, last year we moved the nursery stock behind the building,
yeah,
and so to open this up for this project.
yeah, okay.
Can you show them where the...
That's all, I was just trying to find out where everything was going.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so the nursery was here,
Yeah,
and so now that's where the mini golf is going.
And where's the nursery been moved to?
Hey, Howard.
Right behind,
I got you, thank you.
So yeah,
up to the power line.
right. But this is all, existing used area of the property, they're just gonna consolidate it here. So you can see the distinct shape of the walkways here.
Here's a
for
laser
the-
pointer.
for the nursery. That radius is what we held as the limit of our golf area, so that's why that is shaped like that. You can see that shape right there, for point of reference.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the public? You all set? Alan?
I
You
think
just-
it looks
you just-
beautiful.
All right.
And and from an agricultural point of view, and I'm somewhat involved in that, it is becoming a very common practice to try and incorporate, this is nice, it's a show area.
Yeah.
But you go to the orchards in Haverhill, Methuen, or any place else like that, that's what's happening in agriculture. You can only sell so many carrots.
So bringing it back to the board then, I guess what I'd like to just suggest for the board is that since this is the first public hearing, that as much as anything, it's really to not get into dialogue back and forth about why things are done and maybe we should do it this way and that sort of thing. It's really just to say, I think that this is something that I'm aware of and issue to come back either prepared to talk about or defend it or you want to change it, but it's more of just putting on the table what our concerns may or may not be, kind of thing. So who would like to start?
I would start.
All right.
I was concerned about the drainage from Central, and I would like Peter Durkee to go over that and give us the comment. I know Peter has been doing new drains in the street, and I wonder if that's on his list. because I don't think that's legal. I'm not an authority, but you don't discharge into, that's a brook or, what is that?
Is that a river?
Pembroke.
The
That's
river?
Pembroke.
Pembroke.
It's
That's a river.
It's a wetland there, it's not a
Yeah.
river.
That discharged area, I don't think they can do that today, but I'm not an authority on it. And that's why I think Peter ought to be in on that. You
Well,
are,
We are gonna have our technical review agent, who will be, I'm sure, sinking his teeth pretty heavily into that.
yeah, that's good.
The technical review engineer has received a copy of the stormwater report and everything else that was submitted, so.
And Tilly, before I forget, now, it might be a good time now to get this in.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to establish an M account.
Do I get a second?
In the amount,
Of,
deposit of $5,000, $4,000.
I would, what's Larry doing here? What's your
It's a lot-
watershed?
It's a lot of work, that's called.
8 acres? Not quite, well, we're actually developing, it's about 4 acres.
Yeah, but he's gonna have to look at the whole parcel,
Yeah.
and he's got the municipal thingy. Yeah, I'd say 3,000 at least. I'd make a-
Common practice for the board to request an opening balance of 4,000. And then anytime it goes underneath 2, then they request funds to replenish it.
I would hope it wouldn't get that extensive, but yeah, sure, 4,000 then. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to establish an M account with an initial deposit of $4,000.
Second. So a motion has been made, it's been seconded to open an M account in the amount of $4,000. Technical review agent, 4269 Central Street, Dunes Forest. Cafe Serena and the Sports Cafe. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Tilly, back to you.
and you mentioned the floodplain now, did the zoning board decision, did they hear that? You mentioned the floodplain over there.
Yeah,
There's a requirement that they have to hear it. There's another special permit for that.
we're not in it. I'm
Okay.
showing it to show that we're outside of it entirely.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is that the red line?
The floodplain is this blue dotted line here. It generally follows the wetland, and we surveyed that into the wetland to make sure we knew exactly where that was, and that's based off the latest FEMA maps. So it's accurate.
So you don't own right up to it? Is that it?
Yeah, we're trying to keep a 25 to 50-foot buffer wherever we can. This is more just grading an outlet here, but we're not in the floodplain. There's no structures, there's nothing we're proposing
We
within
own the
that.
floodplain. That's
Yeah, I
what
thought
that-
you did.
Yeah.
So,
But the work doesn't go into the floodplain
Right.
area.
Right.
That stays the same.
well, I don't know, what do you think, Howard, is that required or not, if there's no structure going into it? I thought it was the parcel. If any part of that parcel is in the floodplain, you have to go through to the zoning board.
Is there an agricultural exemption for that?
I have no idea.
I would think that the zoning board would have looked at what was being proposed, gone through their criteria of application in the stormwater, and seen that there wasn't any aspect of the proposed use
Mhm.
that would create the need for a floodplain site plan or special permit, rather.
Can-
Here's the
Mr. Chairman? Can I enlighten you a little bit on the drainage from the Central Street that runs across the property? It was about 28 years ago that Jim Bussing was building a bunch of houses on top of the hill across the street from us. Huge problem with the water and the runoff, and the neighbors were complaining. So the town and the Conservation Commission asked me if they can, there was a drainage pipe that went through there, but they really needed to make it a lot more extensive. And so they asked if I would allow them to do that, and I gave them permission to do that. I don't believe there's
There's no easement.
no easement or
There-
anything.
there is no
So
easement.
we maintain it for the town, we clean up the drains, because it's helpful to us too, because it just keeps everything moving quickly. So, Peter may not even know the answer to that, that's why I'm telling him. But-
Well, maybe you're gonna have to tell him too.
But, so,
We did actually meet with Peter over last summer, specifically about this, and we walked it, so he's aware of it, and we've talked about what we were doing. I'm
And
sure
what did
about-
did he make any recommendations to the board? No?
We haven't heard any yet, but he, we
Okay.
did go through it with him, so I'm sure you'll be hearing
That's
from
good.
him.
Well, you guys are using it too, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So it's not
we have a
just the
parking
town.
lot that we have a
Yeah, you're
drain.
using that for the drainage for your facility too.
So we're both gaining a benefit from it.
With respect to the question concerning the agricultural exemption under the Wetland Protection Act, yes, there is an agricultural exemption for agriculture. It's a permitted use in a floodplain.
Thank you. I have a list here. The site distance you mentioned to, you were going to remove trees along the street in Central. How far were you planning on clearing that?
Tilly, this might be a good example of how to do this information, where the issue that you're concerned about is the site distance and
Mhm.
what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
So that's now put on the table. The technical review agent, when they get into this, they're gonna be looking at all that, and they will answer those questions. What I
Mhm.
wanna try to avoid is that the applicant has to get up there and start defending and going back and forth on each of the items we put out there.
It would be great
It's
to
not to
present
avoid-
questions for the applicant, given first submittal, tonight's testimony, that they can come back
Exactly.
at the next meeting with answers on, with the board also having read the first report of the technical review engineer.
That's,
And so there's a much more comprehensive, thought-out discussion on the
so
matter.
it's not, I'm not trying to stifle the conversation. I'm just trying to, keep the meeting moving forward, considering it's the first public hearing, and people are just putting the issues on the table.
Well, is the applicant gonna talk to Larry Graham? Are they gonna meet?
This will all go to, Larry's gonna get a whole set of drawings, and he's
I
gonna,
understand that, but is Larry gonna come to the board and?
yes,
Okay.
yep, Larry will be at the board, and the site distance, I'm sure will.
Okay, then what I have on my list here is, the noise. Will there be any noise beyond the property lines, like loudspeakers? The exterior lighting, will all of the lights be towards the street and not on any adjoining, not towards the street, but retaining right on the property? Or adjoining properties. I'm not sure I saw where the waste disposals were gonna be, the dumpsters. The screening, the storage.
You mean for the cafe, Tilly?
For the, yeah,
Dumpsters for the cafe?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The screening, the storage, was the, well, Larry will check the slope from the access way, because that's really very steep, as I recall. And you're gonna keep the same sign, is that? What are the dimensions of the sign at the entranceway? Did I read that or not?
I don't believe, if I.
Are you keeping the same sign?
There's gonna be, we're redoing that sign. There's gonna be an island put around it.
Yeah,
It's
we're
gonna
gonna
be,
keep the sign that's there now. The Hemborg sign used to go below our existing sign, so now we have a spot open for that. But the size of the sign is gonna be the same, but we are gonna dress that island up.
And it's shown, right? Sign is shown on there?
Yeah.
So a week ahead of the next planning board meeting, if you could submit plans, renderings, elevations, anything to help describe the sign.
Well, and I, since that was just put out there on the table, getting to the board a week ahead of time, whether you're gonna change anything in response to these or you're not, but getting the information to the board, a week in advance.
It goes to Larry too.
And actually a little bit earlier
goes
so
to
that
Larry,
Howard
too.
has a chance to kind of package it up in a
so that we have a chance to read it.
That's technical review agent as well. Sorry.
And since we didn't get anything from like the fire department, I wondered, you know, can they go around? Can the trucks go down that excess way? Those kind of issues from the fire department, I hope they will look at it very carefully.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to sign up from the chief.
I was a little concerned about why the cafe is gonna be year-round, yet everything else is seasonal. You know, and what happens, my thoughts were, I'll let you know where I'm going. My thoughts were, as you slowly, and I think that's what you're doing, is downgrading your nursery and your agricultural business, because you tore down everything there. So you're not, I'm thinking this way anyway, that eventually you're gonna slowly stop the agriculture part as your nurseries and whatnot, and what happens to the cafe? It's year round and it's there by itself.
We've increased our agricultural a lot. Ingraham Tree Farm,
Uh-huh,
he's got 3 really big greenhouses there
uh-huh,
that are bigger than the 3 that we tore down.
uh-huh,
So we're leasing those from him. We're on our 2nd year of leasing from him.
oh,
So we've replaced the greenhouses that we've torn down, and we've increased the area. So, and we use those in the springtime, and then in the fall, once the spring crop is out for the summer and the fall,
mhm,
we hope to grow vegetables for the cafe.
mhm.
So we're not decreasing our footprint for
Okay.
agriculture at all, so.
And it sounds like the whole idea is to draw more people in to buy the nursery,
Right.
and buy the seeds and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I think that's my start anyway,
Very good start.
thank you.
So the only question I have really is on the restaurant. Are you gonna serve beer, liquor?
No.
So it's just
Ice cream?
ice cream,
Ice
same
cream-
as what
ice cream
Henborg
and
said.
food. Yeah, the menu will be a little more involved than Henborg. But the ice cream will be the same.
And you call it a sports cafe? You're gonna have, is that?
That was
part
the,
of
that was the original intent. It's gonna be more of like a coffee shop on one side, and the other side is gonna be more ice cream. So one side is gonna be more for kids, even though adults and kids, ball players with the teams can come down, because there's not a lot of places in Georgetown that you can bring a whole group of people. It's gonna be pretty substantial. You can fit a whole 2 teams in there to kind of have ice cream and stuff. And the other side is gonna be more wraps, paninis, coffee, stuff like that, fresh farm to table type stuff.
Okay, are you gonna have like big screen TVs in there?
I think on
A
the,
sports cafe.
there
so
is
the
gonna be,
screen's
there is
that-
gonna be a couple big screen TVs in there for the kids, yeah. On that one ice cream side, yeah.
Bakery?
But you won't be serving any liquor,
No liquor.
too bad.
Yeah, really, it's a tragedy.
That's not gonna be your
Waste
spot,
it
huh?
I'm going there for breakfast, that's it.
When you made application to the zoning board, what was your application for in terms of the use proposed? The golf course was amusement? And-
Amusement, yeah.
Amusement, and the cafe was restaurant use, or was that part of the amusement?
I think that was a part of the amusement,
Okay.
I think.
You got the decision there, don't you?
Absolutely.
What did they
The
ask?
vote was 4-1 in favor of the owners. Assesses map 9 lot 1 in the Abbey District for a special permit to operate an outdoor amusement, parentheses, mini golf only, end parentheses, use, under MGL 48, section 9, and the Georgetown zoning bylaw, chapter 165, blah, blah, blah. Well, then it goes through the requested use is essential or desirable, going affecting integrity and the character of the community, just the other things that are in the special
So it
permit.
doesn't
So
address
so the
restaurant.
cafe, it was approved as a use that was basically part of the amusement use?
One would think that the cafe was approved as a use since the special permit, which was granted, had 4 conditions. The second condition was that the ZBA has limited the hours of operation for both the mini golf hours as well as the cafe operating hours. So it doesn't seem as though that they were unaware of the fact that there was a cafe. One would have to permit a cafe and know a cafe was there and approve the use before they would specify the hours of operation.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
De facto, isn't it?
well, understand there was already a food establishment on site,
Hmm?
and it's being moved, so I think the board understood that this is a continuing use that's been there. So they're just, by setting hours of operation, I think they're just further controlling the use.
But it's gonna be like 6 times the size, right?
I'm not sure if it's 6 times the size. It will be larger. I'm not exactly sure how much. Scott may be better to handle that.
It looks like it's about 6 to 7 times the size.
And generally, if an establishment increases its size, that calls for,
Site plan would do.
Yeah, right,
it becomes a concern.
becomes a good concern.
I can certainly say that it was definitely part of the testimony. I wasn't there for it, but you can see some of the graphics before they had gone through all the engineering expenses when they're first going through this project with the ZBA. They had the cafe. I believe you guys had, did you have the rendering as well? The cafe was definitely part of that testimony. There's no question about it.
And what's the size of this new?
This is 4,000 square feet, the proposed cafe footprint, and the existing one, I can tell you.
While you're looking for that, Harry, did you're up next week?
I have one other,
Oh,
just wanted to question. Are you guys gonna have like any outdoor audio, any music, any,
No, it should be just,
so?
we want people to hear more of the water going and more natural type stuff than music blaring and all
You
that stuff.
you have outdoor speakers now with
That-
music.
And
Yeah.
in the summertime, there's music there, but,
It's low key.
yeah, this is not,
There won't be
headbanging
anything
stuff.
additional with the golf
No,
course?
I think if you're worried about what Hamburg's had on their cruise nights, they had pretty loud
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Oh, no?
I'm not saying we won't have a cruise night, but I'm saying we don't have, there's no plans of huge speakers and
No
blasting
dragons.
the air.
I'm just asking these
Yeah.
types of things.
Yeah, yeah.
to
No, it's good
address
questions.
ahead of the
Harry?
formal meeting.
Process. Have you been before Concom yet?
Filed simultaneously, so we're expecting to be on the April 16th meeting. Stephen's still reviewing the application. They've sent it out to their consultant, so there'll be another review going on there apparently, and we're expecting April 16th. So we're kind of doing this concurrently, because there's,
That's a good move.
obviously concerns for
It's a
both
good move,
boards,
good
so
move.
Yeah.
we don't want to come back with changes, so.
Yeah, sometimes you do end up with changes, and
Yeah.
it's good to be going concurrently like that.
So did you measure the existing?
750 square feet up to 4,000, so it's a little north of 5 times larger.
And the zoning board wasn't concerned about that?
No, they basically said they wanted to see what you guys came up with after. They weren't concerned with the size, but they wanted to know what you guys kind of.
Zoning board permits the use. This board says how it's used. That's the way this works.
Right.
Or how it should work.
The use referring to size of the facility?
They're limiting the use of it to 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., Monday through Thursday, and
Yeah.
7 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. on Friday through Sunday. It's the use. How big, what color, et cetera, this should be this board, unless they specifically make it.
I think it could be either.
Oh, absolutely, but
I
if they
think
choose
that-
not to,
Okay,
That's why I
then
was just asking.
they devolve it to us.
The site approval, we can,
That's-
and I'm not
that's-
suggesting this, but we can determine what size that is. because we legitimately, if that's all they ever did, you know, no golf course and all that, our site approval says that we can have a site approval just for that extension.
Are there specific questions for the applicant for them to consider for the next meeting?
Well, yeah, so,
As long as they're moving forward with Concom, as long as all the appropriate boards have received
They received complete
Yeah.
in
copies.
February.
February 12th, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's in the list, yes.
Okay, so we can pretty much establish that they'll get them back.
We gotta
Um,
go back and talk to them some more.
Remind them.
Yeah.
And at this point, with the exception of the discharge of that pipe, and what DEP says about that pipe, and what the Concom will say about that pipe, I mean, that's the only thing that, I could see that might be an issue. Other than that, I do have one more question. What's par for the course? 30 feet?
18.
18. Isn't it,
Damn, you guys are
I bar, absolutely. The only question I really have is, if you've spoken with the abutters and neighbors, and if you've gotten any feedback from your neighbors, and I'd like to hear what they have to say. Obviously, they're invited to these meetings.
We've had discussions with them, concerns were lighting,
Mhm.
and the lights are designed to all shine down.
Mm-hmm.
One of the benefits of where we are is we're down low, so it doesn't seem to it shouldn't send a lot of light out into the neighborhood, so.
And back behind the rail trail is basically nothing.
Correct. Well, there's some houses up there now, but
Was it little, is that little stuff?
it's kind of in
no,
the,
that's,
No.
so I remember when we approved that street.
that's,
Three hot
well,
lots
for Nelson, that
subdivision.
little
Yeah,
street,
that-
yeah.
Well,
that's,
okay.
that's more like,
Kinson, is
that's
it?
park and rec
Kinson.
land.
Kingston Lane, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If I may address that
Well,
part, really the only abutters are the abutters along the frontage on the opposite side of the road,
Mhm.
because the farm owns the houses on either side.
And you don't, it doesn't bother you?
I've been
that
turned,
you-
everybody.
I've been paying attention.
I've been told by K&P that if someone can stand on their roof and see the project, they are called an abutter to an abutter. And they have a legitimate reason if they wanted to go to court. So I don't know how,
We've only had 2 members of the
Verify
public
that
come
it's-
into the planning office in response to the public hearing notice.
and there's,
And both of them have left with questions being satisfied. They saw the limit of work and where it was occurring, and I told them of the meeting tonight, and they said, well, if I have anything more, I'll let the planning office know. So,
As far as light trespass, you're familiar with the light trespass bylaw, and you've designed it in compliance with that?
Like that, light out that window there.
No.
Not.
0 foot, it's, every single project is dark sky, 0 foot candle at the property line, regardless of whether it's in the bylaw, we're always looking to mitigate that. It's a common design element these days, expected design element.
Robert, did you have anything else?
That's it?
Okay. These aren't, I'm just going through the drawings, but these are the issues that I just noticed. I don't know if you're requiring any waivers or not. If you could locate, it would be helpful for the planning board just to see where the driveways are on the other side of Central Street.
No.
You know, just when you come back, you just show that stuff.
Yes, I put my glasses.
I'm just gonna throw these out. You can address them, or just come back being prepared to, say why you didn't. In general, I have a concern about the entrance that you have right now you have 2 lanes leaving and 1 lane coming in, and when you're traveling from 95 coming up Central Street, the mouth of the exit is so wide that it implies you turn in sooner than you do. And I've seen numerous cars start to turn in, and it's like at the last minute they recognize the island and, oh, I'm supposed to go around the island, and they jog back out. So that's a concern I have.
In the existing condition, that is how you observe it now?
In the existing condition, that's how I observe it, and in what you're proposing, it looks like you're gonna have actually a wider mouth than before for the exit. But, so that was that.
Does it clearly show
Delaney-
where the road is?
Yes, it does, but
Where the
he's
layout
got,
of the road is?
yeah, he's got the point. The snow storage, you're probably gonna wanna show where you're gonna put your snow storage. When you start moving some of this stuff around, you're probably gonna wanna show where you're gonna stockpile your construction. You have a number of items that you mentioned on the plan, such as posting beam guardrails, and you would like to see a detail for that. You have some stairs, I think, with handrails shown going to the proposed cafe. We're gonna wanna see, what that looks like. You have overall dimensions in the parking lot, but I think there's some for the length of the stalls, just showing some dimensions of the length of the stalls. I know you're ADA compliant now with your parking, but you've got a funny situation where you have 2 front doors versus 1 front door. And what I would recommend is that you add another van accessible only space to the front door for the garden center, because otherwise you only have 1 van accessible space, which is to the restaurant or to the cafe. You already answered, so there are no easements to that drive. It wasn't clear to me what the limits of paving, new paving, old paving, where this limit of work was. A planting plan in general is gonna be needed. You have the project limit line that is paralleling Central Street, and it looks like it's way up on top of the hill in back of the proposed cafe. And I know why, I see the septic system tanks, and I see why it's skirting there, but I'm just wondering why the limit of work line is so far out, and when you come back, if you can be prepared to say you need it that far out or you don't.
Where is that precisely?
This is the work limit line that falls in back of the proposed cafe, and between that and the Central Street.
Mr. Chair, right here?
Yes. Let's page these are the rain garden, I'm always interested in those planting plans. They're an oxymoron, and it's an industry catch-all, but I'd be interested to see the planting plan for that. But, so you have a number of new landscape areas. If anybody can do it, you guys can do it. You have a number of landscape areas that need to just show what you're doing with that. I was having a hard time figuring out where your curbing was, your bituminous curbing versus the breakdowns in curbing. I'm assuming that the construction there'll be a section going through the putting green, the miniature golf course. I talked about the gravel that it all
Typical
sits on.
section,
Yeah. What you've shown for detention basin 2 is fine, the way it is, it works. It'd be nice to see if you can make it a little more natural in shape. I really want to understand that. I didn't see the lighting poles located on the plans. You're gonna need to show that. And I don't recall off the top of my head what the light fixtures are that exist out there, but if they're not code compliant, they're probably gonna have to be brought up to code compliant with new heads. Doesn't mean you have to change them. But along with that is a photometrics plan to understand what the lighting is doing. I see you have individual, catalog cuts for fixtures, but you don't say what fixture or what lampage or what wattage, it's like, so that all needs to be spelled out. That was it, so.
Mr. Chair, just a point of clarification.
Yep.
You asked for a general planting plan. The plants inside the golf facility could be changing seasonality.
If something's changing per season, typically the way a planting plan, I don't know how our ordinance is written. There's a checklist in the ordinance, and that's what I meant by the
Under site plan
waivers.
approval.
Under site plan approval,
Yeah.
and just make sure you cover all those items, and the ones you're not covering, just what waivers you're looking
Yeah,
for.
I believe most of everything you're describing is there. We'll provide more clarification for you, so.
Great.
But with specific regard to the planting plan, as Attorney DeLuna has pointed out, everything on the property is gonna be fluctuating. There's not gonna be a lot of permanent landscaping in these areas because they're gonna be showcase plants. So they'll be there, you can buy them, and new stock will be put back in. So that's kind of the whole intent of this whole thing. That's why there's not a planting plan for this, because all the brown areas I'm showing here are gonna be product.
And that's fine. It's just not clear to me where those staging areas are versus where you're actually planting plants.
So we'll clarify specifically what we put in the ground, but
Yeah.
I just don't want any expectations when you see something that's not much more
Then-
probably than this.
Then if it's not, if there's an area that, let's say that green area in the middle, that lime green area in the
Mhm.
middle is a staging area where you're gonna be putting, ball and burlap and containers and whatnot there. It just would get called out as area for
Yep.
staging.
Yep,
That's all.
absolutely. I get it.
That's all.
Yeah, is the peer review for the planning board the same entity as the peer review for the Concom?
No. They'll probably work with the same individual, but the Concom is within the jurisdiction of that 100-foot zone, and outside of that, everything then falls into the jurisdiction of the planning board, and that's his review.
Is it 100 or 200? Isn't Pembroke a river?
It's not.
Pembroke, is it a river?
It's tributary to, the brook actually isn't here.
And Conservation Commission they'll be on that with you guys, so they'll cover all of that.
Wait, just to explain a little bit more, the peer review is a sub-consultant to the planning board, and Concom has their own peer review sub-consultant to them. I think they're both from BSC Group, but they're gonna be different people.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So there could even be the benefit of in-house coordination and so forth.
And is this something that they can turn around relatively quickly? Because what I don't want is us to be appearing for another meeting
That's a
and
great
then
question.
a week later, we get their reports. I'd rather get their report, address your concerns and their concerns all at once.
And that's a great question, that's what you do need to do, and then give everybody a week in advance before you resubmit this stuff. So before the next meeting gets scheduled, that's what needs to be taken into account. It
So-
usually takes a little longer than people typically might think.
With knowledge that the applicant's gonna be depositing money into the 53G account, the escrow account, tomorrow I can call the peer review, because he's already got the material, and say, start your review. And he'll, depending upon schedule, it might be a week.
Oh, that's great.
And then we'll issue we'll take those, give them to the board, give them to you, and then Scott can take the comments from his and revise to the planning board and first review, and then have that ready for the next meeting.
I would give him 2 weeks, just
And
play
do
safe.
you allow Scott to speak directly to your peer
Absolutely.
reviewer?
Absolutely,
Thank you, that works much better.
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry,
I will make a motion to continue the,
did you?
Oh,
did you
So I was
have
just gonna
anything else?
recommend a continuation date to the, probably the meeting on the 22nd, and get through one conservation hearing at least, because we're gonna have the same conversation with them. Their reviewers aren't
Yeah.
gonna start till at least the 17th.
that's the 16th
Yeah,
is the
that's when we anticipate being.
That's why I was
before
gonna
them,
make a
so.
motion for May 13th.
Does that work?
By the time you get everything back, I mean,
I mean, I
at
think
least you got a
that's-
shot at having your data back.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
no guarantees in life.
Eric,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue the hearing to 5/13/15.
Second.
Motion's been made, and a second to continue the hearing to April 13th?
Me.
May?
May, 5/13, 5/13/15.
To May 13th?
May.
2000?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, just,
of this year.
2015.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's different.
Any
I need
discussion?
the time to practice my putting.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Par 18, John. Good work.
Okay, all set.
Doing.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
guys.
for your time.
Thank you very much.
If any planning
It's a
board,
great project.
if any
Yeah,
planning board
sounds
member
great.
wants a smaller size of the plans, I have 11 by 17. If you don't want your full size, please give them back.
Cool with that. Very well. Sit down,
So-
right?
New business.
We briefly touched upon new business during a discussion of the M account payment. Included under new business is the daily log observation field reports, as well as cut sheet reviews by the site inspecting engineer, so there's not much further discussion to be had on it.
Okay. Sounds like a good idea. Any member or public report? Seeing none?
Did you go to the Holy Cross conference?
No.
Okay, planning office, administrative assistant?
Mary Ellen's last week is through March, and the new admin will be in on the 31st to start getting some training.
So we, oh yes, so we won't.
No, this is it.
This is it?
This is it?
Sorry, this seat's very uncomfortable. For the record, these plastic seats are very uncomfortable.
Yes, I'm well aware.
Yeah. Tonight's my last meeting, and the 31st will be my last day. I'll be here for a couple hours tomorrow, and we'll give Andrea a little rundown, and we'll go from there. So good luck, everybody.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck to you.
too.
Well,
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, third.
All right.
To adjourn, no discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fastest second.